So tonight we're going to be shooting 2 different nebulas, and I'm going to take you along for a ride, and we're going to be using a different telescope tonight. So let's get started. So what telescope am I going to be using tonight? So I've been using my Explorer Scientific 127 Apo triplet, right? And that uses lenses as opposed to mirrors. But tonight we're going to use a big one, and it uses mirrors. So right here behind me we have a 10-inch Orion Newtonian. It is just a basic Newtonian telescope as well. If you take off the cover here, it is a massive cell in the back there. 10 full inches or 254 millimeters of imaging. Now on this, we've got a number of things that are gonna be helping us. We are gonna start with a brand new mini PC. So my biggest concern tonight is gonna be the struggles with software potentially not working. Okay, so it's been a while since I've had to use this telescope, and I've had to just kind of refresh myself on how you collimate. Collimating, that's going to be the biggest difference between a reflector and a refractor telescope, right? With refractor telescopes, you usually just set them up and they play. With a reflector, though, you have 2 mirrors that you have to make sure they're in proper alignment, because if they're out of sync even a little bit, especially with faster optics, this is an f3.9. With faster optics, you have to make sure you're as close as possible to collimation or perfect alignment as possible. So I did just take this apart just a little bit because my coma corrector, if you're not familiar with what a coma corrector is with fast optics like this, sometimes in the corners of your image, you can get stars that have tails on them and they look like comets. So I've got the Beta Mark III coma corrector on here. Some people give it really bad reviews, but I've never had a problem with it. I think it's probably user error. So I'm gonna get down and we're gonna line it perfectly at 90. And then that's probably good there. So I'm gonna turn it about halfway and we're gonna lock that in place. And then because this is so heavy, I'm gonna tug on it just a little, not a lot, just a little, because I wanna make sure it doesn't fall out. So it's really nice to use a new telescope every once in a while, but the problem is, and this is something that someone like Trevor experiences a lot, is he has to refocus all the time. He's got to find the back focal distances. He's got to really mess with the rig before he even really sets it up, and then he's got to test it. That can cut into your imaging time. My recommendation is to find a telescope that suits you. The only reason why I don't use this more is because I'm spoiled now with that flip flat. I literally automate my flats and the computer shoots them for me. But with this telescope, I've got to actually put the t-shirts on, the tracing board, and I've got to give it a try manually to get good flats each and every single night with this particular telescope. The flip flat 100% has me spoiled. So what I'll do now is I'll go ahead and get this thing balanced, and we'll kind of wait until it gets a little bit darker. So this little excerpt is going to be a little different because I'm actually at a museum. And this particular museum has walls of art, and it's astrophotography art taken by members of the Astronomical Society of Kansas City. And in fact, this one right here is actually mine. You guys might recognize it. This is the Andromeda Galaxy. We can come over here to the wall, and you'll see right here that this is my biography that I provided them. So if you are in the Kansas City area, definitely recommend checking out Museum at Prairie Fire in Overland Park, Kansas. You'll see me as well as a bunch of other respectable astrophotographers in the society. What is it we're going to be possibly shooting? And that one is one that I've only done once before, but I did it with a one-shot color camera, so it's really not going to be a great example. And that one is going to be a little bit more to the north for us. Now this is located in the constellation of Cassiopeia, where I'm going to be able to capture it unobstructed for the rest of the evening. It's also cataloged as NGC 7635. The Bubble Nebula is actually a really neat object. It has a central star that is incredibly bright and incredibly hot. And what's happening is this star has huge amounts of stellar wind that are actually carving out this bubble, and that's what we're actually seeing. So it is a little bit of a smaller target, but with this large Newtonian behind me, with that larger aperture, we have a good chance of capturing a good amount of faint details that smaller telescopes don't really capture as much of. It's got a fairly small central obstruction with that secondary mirror, so we capture a lot of light with this particular telescope, and definitely in comparison to shooting NGC 7822 with a triplet, and then comparing it to this, and that triplet was a 115 millimeter, so 4 inches compared to 10 inches here, it's hands down a huge difference. There's way more detail, much more faint detail. I did say that there's strong stellar wind, so exactly how strong is it? So if we're talking about miles per hour, roughly 4 million miles per hour. But it is really hot right now, so I'm gonna go ahead and go inside, cool down a little bit, and then we're gonna come out here. I'm gonna do the polar alignment. I did polar alignment in the last video, which I'm gonna see if I can't link it up here for you or down below. And you can check out the polar alignment process. I'm not gonna do it again because it is lengthy. And we're gonna go ahead and get imaging, and I'll show you the final products once we get there. So if you are new to the channel, welcome. Be sure to subscribe and hit the thumbs up if you like the images at the end. I do spend a lot of time imaging and a lot of time processing these images, and I do take great pride in the work that I put out there. And if you enjoy the photos at the end, that's really when I want you to do this, subscribe and like, because it's going to help me get a little bit more visibility out there on YouTube, but at the same time, it's going to help you guys see when I post new videos. So make sure to ring the bell as well. With that, I'm going to leave you guys. We'll be out here shortly, and I'll show you guys the final images in just a few seconds here.